What's up guys, it's Aaronitmar, and we're back with another Classic Mode Origins video, where I dive into all the references that have been cleverly hidden by Sakurai and the gang in Classic Mode. Today we're tackling the Smash for 3DS and Wii U newcomers, including all of the DLC that dropped with that game. Before we do, it would be a huge help if you guys hit that subscribe button. I'm scoping in on 250,000 subscribers, so if you like this kind of content and you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. With all that said, let's jump in. Villager's Classic Mode is titled Mistake to Underestimate, or in Japanese, Ordinary People Were Strong. As it suggests, the route sees Villager taking on characters who themselves seem like unexpected picks for Smash, or characters that you wouldn't expect to put up a fight. It may also be a reference to Sakurai's reason that Villager wasn't included in Brawl, citing that Villager seemed like he just wouldn't be suited for battle. The first fight is a horde battle against 6 villagers, followed by a battle against Pokemon Trainer. This seems a little odd, but I guess without their Pokemon, the trainer would be a bit of a strange fight. Following that is Ness and Lucas, who you'd hesitate to fight since they're just dumb little kids. But then they PK fire you and all bets are off, they're going down. Next is Dr. Mario, and this may be a twofold reference. First, you wouldn't expect a doctor to be ready to throw hands, but it may also be a sort of meta reference, since back when Melee first came out, many wouldn't have expected Dr. Mario of all things to be in Smash in the first place. And following that is perhaps the most unexpected addition to Smash, a 2v1 against a pair of Wii Fit Trainers. I still remember people freaking out about this addition like it was yesterday. Lastly is Isabelle, who you wouldn't expect to put up a fight because she's just a cute little dog who does secretary stuff. I mean, who would beat her up? But then, totally against the theme of unexpected fighters, we finish off with the most expected boss fight in the game, Master and Crazy Hand. Next up we have your boy Mega Man. His classic mode is titled Variable Weapons System Online. This route sees Mega Man fighting characters who represent robot masters from the classic Mega Man games, complete with a matching song for each boss. The first fight is against the Ice Climbers, who represent Iceman from Mega Man 1, who are dressed pretty similarly to each other, so it's a really good representation. Second is a fight against Samus, who represents Metal Man from Mega Man 2. Donkey Kong is up next, representing Woodman, also from Mega Man 2. Though I guess the stage being entirely made of wood is more of a representation than DK himself is. A fight against Captain Falcon follows, representing Quickman from Mega Man 2, as Captain Falcon is one of the fastest characters in all of Ultimate. After the bonus stage, which is at a much earlier point in the classic mode than usual, Mega Man takes on 6 other Mega Men. This is meant to represent the boss rush that usually happens towards the end of Mega Man Classic games, usually right before the boss. And wouldn't you know it, the next fight is against Gallium, who's meant to represent the Guts tank from Mega Man 2, which is one of the early bosses of the final section of the game. Lastly is the final fight against Dr. Mario. Upon defeating Dr. Mario, Mewtwo appears, and then you must defeat him as well. This is based on the final fights from Mega Man 2. Initially, Mega Man fights Dr. Wily, who's represented by Dr. Mario. Then, the final fight is against Dr. Wily, who transforms into an alien and attacks Mega Man, before revealing that it was all a hologram. This alien form is represented by Mewtwo. This final fight of the classic mode route is why the Japanese title of this classic mode is titled The Mystery of Dr. Mario. The Japanese subtitle for Mega Man 2 is The Mystery of Dr. Wily. So the final boss fight is actually kind of straight up spoiled in the Japanese version of the game, but I think this is an awesome classic mode nonetheless, really creative. Wii Fit Trainer's classic mode is called Aerobic Smash. All of these fights take place against characters who are either incredibly round or heavy, implying that they aren't in great shape and Wii Fit Trainer is about to whip them into high gear. These fights are against Wario, 3 Kirbys, PacMan, a giant King K. Rool, King Dedede, and a giant Jigglypuff, all coming to a head with Master and Crazy Hand at the end. The fight against King K. Rool features Dr. Mario as a teammate, further adding to the health theme by having a doctor involved. Every song featured in the route also comes from the Wii Fit universe. Rosalina and Luma's classic mode is called One Star After Another, and features characters that are all space-based, mostly. Additionally, assist trophies are set so that the only character that will appear from them is Starfy, who is of course meant to represent the Lumas. The first fight is against Olimar, followed by a free-for-all against Fox and Wolf, who will also attack each other since they are sworn enemies. Following that are a couple of Metroid-themed fights, one against Samus, followed by another against Ridley. Then a horde battle against 6 Kirbys. The final regular fight is against Bowser, with Mario appearing as a teammate. This fight of course references Super Mario Galaxy, with Mario and Rosalina having to take down Bowser trying to control the galaxy. The boss of the route is Marx, with Mario again appearing as a teammate. The Kirby series often takes place in space, and specifically the Marx fight itself takes place out in space. Little Mac's classic mode is titled Friendly Sparring. To fit with Little Mac being a boxer, all of the fights take place against characters who similarly fight up close. The first fight is against Incineroar, who is a wrestler, taking place on the boxing ring. The second fight is against Ryu, who is a master martial artist. Additionally, this could be a reference to Piston Hondo, one of Little Mac's opponents in the Punch-Out series, as Ryu bears a passing resemblance to him as well as having similar color schemes. The third fight has Little Mac take on 4 Mii brawlers, 3 of which are dressed in basic outfits, and the fourth being the Flying Man from the Mother series. Captain Falcon is next, who is just an in-your-face kind of fighter. Then we have a fight against Wireframe Little Mac, because who better to help you train than yourself? The final fight is against Donkey Kong on Boxing Ring Omega, a reference to Punch-Out for the Wii where Donkey Kong serves as a secret boss for Little Mac to fight. And then Master and Crazy Hand, which I guess you could call a hand-to-hand fight. Greninja's classic mode is titled Your Turn Greninja, or in Japanese, Type Strategy League. Each fight has Greninja take on a different type that exists in the Pokemon series. Along with this, each Pokemon in the route is accompanied by a fighter from Smash that roughly aligns with that type. The first fight is against Charizard and Bowser, who represent the Fire type. Following that is Pikachu, Pichu, and Zero Suit Samus, who represent the Electric type. Zero Suit may seem weird here, but her Plasma Whip and Paralyzer definitely fit the bill perfectly. Following that is Lucario, a fighting type, joined by 2 martial artists who could also fit the fighting type, Ken and Ryu. Next we have Ivysaur for the grass type, and he's a loser idiot who has no friends with him. I'm sorry, Ivysaur. Mewtwo for Psychic is up next, and he's joined by Ness and Lucas, who are both gifted Psychic users. And finally is Squirtle and Greninja for the Water type. This fight pits you against Shiny Greninja, which is just a little cherry on top. And then the final fight is against your favorite Pokemon type, the Hand type. Palutena's classic mode route is titled A Little Divine Intervention. This is a reference to a line used in her English reveal trailer for Smash 3DS and Wii U.
I'm here for a little, divine intervention.
In Japanese, the route is named I Think I Should Train You. Many of the fights throughout this route have to do with mythology or gods in their respective games. The first fight is against Link and Zelda, where goddesses play a key role throughout the entire series. Sometimes they're simply there for backstory, and sometimes they play a major role in the plot. Next is a fight against Cloud. Final Fantasy includes a pretty sizable amount of divinity in its series. Many games have a mythology woven into the narrative, or at least have mentions of religion sprinkled throughout. Additionally, some real-world religion and mythology have influenced the series' summons, such as Shiva, a Hindu goddess, or Odin, a Norse god. The fight also has a minor reference to Magnus, playing his theme during the fight. Cloud could be a very minor analog to Magnus, both being swordsmen who use gigantic swords. The next fight is against Simon and Richter. The Castlevania series has a ton of inspiration taken from European mythology, with the different creatures like gargoyles and vampires playing a major role. Additionally, different aspects like crosses or holy water can also be seen in this series. Next is a fight against Shulk, with the struggle between the 2 ancient titans Bionis and Mechonis playing a major role in the game's story. And then a fight against Bayonetta, where religion and mythology are also huge influences. Ancient groups of witch and sages, Bayonetta fighting angels, even the game setting being based on Dante's Inferno's versions of heaven, purgatory, and hell. The final standard fight is a horde battle against 3 pits and 3 dark pits, which could be a reference to the fight against the Chaos Kin that both Pit and Dark Pit take on in Kid Icarus Uprising. And the boss fight is against Master and Crazy Hand. Continuing with the Kid Icarus editions, we next have Dark Pit. Dark Pit's classic mode is called Created Warriors. This theme sees Dark Pit, a being artificially created, take on other characters who are also artificially created. Dark Pit was created out of Pit by the Mirror of Truth, which has the ability to create a being's exact opposite. The first fight in the route is against Mewtwo, who was genetically engineered by Team Rocket using DNA from the legendary Pokemon Mew. Second is against Dark Samus, who's a being of Phazon who took on the form of Samus after absorbing part of her DNA. Next up is a fight against 3 Dark Links. Dark Link is an evil incarnation of Link with a lot of mystery surrounding his creation and origin. The presence of 3 Dark Links could further be a reference to the Dark Interlopers. These appear in a vision given to Link in Twilight Princess and represent a tribe of sorcerers who wanted to take control of the sacred realm. Cloud is our next fight, and he kind of breaks the mold here. Rather than being initially created through magic or an experiment, Cloud was born as just a normal boy, who was then later experimented on to become a super soldier. Next is a fight against Blood Falcon, who is an evil clone of Captain Falcon made from his DNA, specifically to defeat him in a race. That's a real good use of science. The next fight is against Pit, and rather than being strictly part of the theme, it's meant to emphasize the rivalry that Dark Pit and Pit have with one another. The final fight is against Gallium, with Pit as a partner. Gallium could be seen as a created warrior, as he is a robot. Pit starting out as a rival and ending as a teammate to Dark Pit also references their growing relationship throughout Kid Icarus Uprising. PacMan is up next with a classic mode titled Ageless Classic, or in Japan, Famicom Classics. This route, as you might expect, has PacMan take on characters who either originated back on the Famicom or were on platforms of the same generation and then ported over to the Famicom. Each fight also takes place in chronological order based on each game's Japanese release date. The first fight is against Mario, Luigi, and Donkey Kong, which serves as a double reference. First is to the arcade game Donkey Kong, which dropped in 1981, and then the arcade game Mario Bros., which came out in 1983. The Donkey Kong CPU here is also using the red color scheme to reference Donkey Kong's original palette on the arcade game. Both games referenced here started as arcade games, but also saw Famicom releases in 1983, which still makes them the earliest games in this classic mode route. The second fight is against Duck Hunt, which first released in 1984. Then we have a 2v1 against Ice Climbers and Rob. Ice Climber released in 1985, with the Rob peripheral releasing later that same year. A detail that may go unnoticed here is that the stage this fight takes place on is based on Wrecking Crew, a Famicom and NES title that also released in 1985. The next fight is a free-for-all against Young Link, Samus, Simon, and Pit, representing The Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Castlevania, and Kid Icarus. All of these first released in the same year of 1986. The next fight is against Little Mac, Mega Man, and Snake. They're bending the rules a little bit here for Little Mac, as the first Punch-Out game actually released in 1984. But if we were to consider the console version of the game, they're looking at the 1987 version that was released for Famicom. Mega Man also dropped in 1987 for the Famicom, but Snake is yet another odd man out. Rather than being an initial Famicom release, the game was released for the MSX2 computer in 1987. But this still works out because the Famicom port of the game still managed to come out in December of that same year. The final standard fight is against Marth, Dr. Mario, and Kirby. Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light, as well as Dr. Mario, both released in 1990 in Japan. And just for good measure, they threw Kirby in there, which neither released the same year, nor was it on the same console. Kirby's Dream Land released in 1992 for the Game Boy. But they were at the end, so what the heck, throw them in there. Now leaving the chronology behind, the boss of the route is Dracula. This of course makes sense, as Dracula is the oldest of all bosses in Smash Ultimate, and he also actually appeared on the Famicom. Lucina's route is titled A Path of Heroes, or in Japanese, Heroes of Many Generations. Each fight has Lucina take on heroes from the Fire Emblem series, however she does so in reverse chronological order of each respective game's release. This is likely a reference to the fact that Lucina travels to the past in Fire Emblem Awakening. The fights are against both Corrins, Chrom, both Robins, Ike, Roy, and finally Marth. And the boss fight is against both Master and Crazy Hand. Robin's classic mode is Thunder and Flames. All fights are against duos of characters who can use electric and fire-based moves. This is based on Robin's tomes, Thunder and Arc Fire, being primary spells that Robin uses. These fights are as follows: Pichu and Charizard, Zero Suit Samus and Roy, Pikachu and Incineroar, Rob and Ken, with Ken's attacks being infused with the power of fire, and Dr. Mario and Bowser, Dr. Mario having a smash attack with electric properties. The penultimate fight is against the opposite gender Robin, and could be a reference to Grima in Fire Emblem Awakening, who took control of Robin's body. The boss fight is against Master and Crazy Hand, who I guess fit this theme because they can use both fire and electric-based attacks. But I'm not happy about it. Shulk's classic mode route is called Witness the Monado's Power, or in Japanese, Jump, Speed, Shield, Buster, Smash, Machine. Each opponent in the route mirrors one of the Monado arts, and the route matches the cycling order of Shulk's neutral B. The first fight is against Falco, representing the jump art, as Falco has the highest jump in the game. The next fight is against Sonic, obviously representing the speed art. Third is a giant King K. Rool, with his belly super armor representing the shield art. King K. Rool being giant could also be a reference to the many giant lizard-like enemies in Xenoblade Chronicles. Next up is Cloud, who represents the Buster art. While this could be a reference to simply high damage output, Cloud's sword is also called the Buster Sword, so it could just be clever wordplay. Next is a fight against Little Mac, representing the Smash art because he has very strong smash attacks. Finally is a fight against Mega Man. While we're out of Monado arts that are in Smash, this still keeps with the theme as it represents the enchant art. This is represented by the Japanese kanji for machine, making Mega Man an obvious choice. The enchant art allows normal weapons to attack Mechon armor when they normally cannot. The final boss fight is against Master and Crazy Hand, L. Bowser Jr.'s classic mode is titled Mama Peach, Where Are You? The title is a reference to Super Mario Sunshine, where Bowser Jr. believes that Peach is his mama, which kinda makes zero sense for any of the other Koopalings playing this route. Most of the fights in this route are against princesses, and most have a pairing that makes sense for the character. The first fight is against Rosalina and Luma, Princess of the Cosmos. Next is a fight against Lucina, who is teamed up with her father Corrin. Then we have a fight against Princess Daisy with her love interest Luigi, and then Princess Zelda. Next we have a horde of Mii fighters, 2 of each kind, who are all wearing different princess wigs or crowns. And finally is the fight Bowser Jr. really wanted, which is against Peach and her love interest Mario. The final boss is Master and Crazy Hand, who are also not Mama Peach. You think Bowser Jr. would have stopped at the last fight. Duck Hunt's classic mode is titled Dog Duck Zapper, or in Japanese, Animal Brothers. Every fight in this route is against characters who are animals. The first fight is against Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, followed by a fight against Sonic the Hedgehog. Next, Duck Hunt takes on Fox, Falco, and Wolf before fighting King K. Rool. The next fight is a little cheeky, being a horde battle against Miis who are all wearing animal outfits: the cat suit, the bear suit, and the monkey suit. The final fight is up against 6 other Duck Hunts, all to determine who the alpha leader of the pack is. And the boss fight has Duck Hunt take on Rathalos, which fits with the theme of the route, as Rathalos is obviously an animal. Ryu's classic mode is one of my favorites. It's titled Seeking a Challenge, or in Japanese, I'm going to meet a fighter who's stronger than me. Each fight is a one-on-one fight on Omega forms only and in stamina mode, emulating Ryu's home series of Street Fighter. Every character Ryu fights also represents a different character from Street Fighter 2, with each reference being easily drawn by looking at what song plays. First is a fight against Ken, who really needs no explanation. Next, we have a fight against Zero Suit Samus, which represents Chun-Li, a woman wearing blue who fights using her kicks. Following that is a fight against Incineroar, who represents Zangief, particularly because some of their moves are incredibly similar. Next is a fight against a green Donkey Kong, who is a clear reference to Blanca. After that is a fight against a giant Little Mac, who is a parallel to Balrog. And then we have a fight against Meta Knight, whose mask is very similar to Vega's. The final fight is against Master and Crazy Hand, which is meant to reference M. Bison's artwork from Street Fighter II Champion Edition. Ken also appears as an ally in this fight, which could be a reference to their tag team final battle against M. Bison in Street Fighter II the animated movie. Cloud's classic mode is called A Ride, Not Interested. This has multiple layers of references. First, the whole route involves fights that take place on stages with vehicles, referencing the many vehicles throughout Final Fantasy VII. The many moving stages could be a reference to Cloud's motion sickness, but I think that one may be a stretch. Additionally, the not interested line in the title is a reference to Cloud's catchphrase. The first fight is against Toon Link on the Spirit Train stage, which is an obvious reference to the train Cloud hops off of at the very opening of Final Fantasy VII. Next is a fight against Fox and Falco on Corneria, which is another vehicle-based stage. After is a fight against Meta Knight on the Halberd, which is meant to be a stand-in for the Highwind, the airship in Final Fantasy VII. Next is a fight against Mario, Yoshi, and Peach on Rainbow Cruise. Corneria and Rainbow Cruise could both be references to just general airships that are found in Final Fantasy VII. Fighting against Captain Falcon on Big Blue is next, potentially referencing the motorcycle chase scene of Final Fantasy VII. Lastly is Wolf on Lilac Cruise, which serves as an allusion to Cloud's trip to space in the Shinra number 26. And then, just because we have to end on a low note, the boss fight is Master and Crazy Hand. Corrin's classic mode route is titled Between White and Black. Each fight has Corrin fight against characters who are wearing either white or black, whether by their default costume or through a palette swap. The theme is based on the plot of Corrin's home games, Fire Emblem Fates. In these games, Corrin has to pick a side to ally with between the Kingdom of Nor and the Kingdom of Hoshido, and there are 2 parallel games that play out depending on Corrin's choice. The colors for the route come from these nations, with members of the Kingdom of Nor wearing dark colors and the Kingdom of Hoshido preferring lighter colors. The first fight is against Dr. Mario, followed up by Dark Samus. Next is a fight against a Corrin of the opposite gender to the players, Daisy and Palutena, with Peach and Rosalina aiding the player. Next is a fight against Pit and Dark Pit, with the opposite gender Corrin now being the CPU ally. And then after that, a fight against 6 Mr. Game & Watches, 3 white and 3 black. Both of these fights have Corrin fight both light and dark simultaneously, which could call back to the DLC storyline of Fire Emblem Fates Revelation. In this story, Corrin aligns with neither kingdom, and similarly in Smash, Corrin takes on both white and black at the same time. Lastly, we have a very crazy 3v3 battle. Corrin, Marth, and Chrom serve as the light side, while other Corrin, Lucina, and Robin sport the dark colors. This fight follows the theme while also pitting the Fire Emblem cast against one another, which Smash just loves to do. And then the final boss is Master and Crazy Hand. The final character who debuted in Smash for 3DS and Wii U is Bayonetta. Her classic mode is titled The Requiem of Fallen Wings. The title comes from the epilogue of Bayonetta titled Requiem. In this route, she fights characters who are all winged, a reference to her battles against angels. Along with this, some of the fights have inspiration from elements in the Bayonetta games. First up is a fight against Dark Pit. Aside from the obvious angel theme, Dark Pit could also be a reference to the fight against Lopter in Bayonetta 2, which took place on Umbra Clock Tower, the very stage this fight is on. Next up is Falco, who simply fits the winged theme. Third is a fight against Mecha Ridley, whose color scheme bears resemblance to the Inspired Angels. After is a fight against a giant gray Charizard, with the color scheme again bearing a resemblance to an enemy, this time Fortitudo. Next, a fight against White Meta Knight, who's based on the masked Lumen from Bayonetta 2. It's a very loose reference, but you know, anyone with a mask is just an automatic Meta Knight fight. After a quick break with the bonus stage, Bayonetta takes on the fight we were all waiting for, a horde battle against 6 pits. This is a reference to the Affinity Angels, enemies that usually attack in groups, just like this horde fight. And finally is the boss fight, which is not against a typical boss. This fight is against Giant Palutena, and is meant to be a reference to Jubileus, the creator. And that does it for every reference in this game. Smash 4 has almost the most newcomers in the Smash series, only coming second behind Ultimate, so this one was a huge task, especially because I'm not separating the DLC into a separate video. But I hope it was all worth it, and I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to drop a like, and make sure to subscribe. I will see you all next time, peace out, and please remember to be good to one another.